iPads is AAC for students with autism. Augmented and Alternative Communication (AAC) can provide students with autism a means of communicating their wants and needs. The use of tablet applications such as GoTalk can help students communicate their wants and needs to peers and adults, which will help them behaviorally, socially, and academically. Autism spectrum disorder (ASD) is a neurodevelopmental brain disorder that is identifiable in early childhood, affecting communication, social interactions, sensory systems, and can include repetitive and restrictive behaviors, interests, and activities. Communication needs in students with autism spectrum disorder impacts their academic, social, and behavioral skills. Students can be taught a new and desirable means of communication through functional communication training. This is when students are taught a replacement strategy. The strategy and tool discussed in this research is the GoTalk app on an iPad. Autism is a disability that can significantly affect verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction. It is estimated that as many as 30% of people with autism spectrum disorder will never develop functional language. This makes researching effective interventions for communication a priority. The use of communication apps on tablets allows students to use a piece of everyday technology to communicate with others. The use of tablets and iPads have the potential to benefit students with autism, communication needs, with social skills, language and literacy development, and overall academic experiences. What you are now looking at are screenshots of what the GoTalk Now app would look like on an iPad. The use of AAC applications of tablet or iPads allowed the user to select an image that represents what they want or need and communicates what they've selected with others. This electronic AAC has come a long way from the low-tech communication boards that have been used similarly. Electronic AAC can use audio to say what the person wants and contain many more images and options for the person to select. This increases opportunities for them to communicate with others by providing more context in which they can communicate beyond the basic boards with a limited number of images. One such application, GoTalk Now, uses images and speech-generating technology to aid the user in communication. A literature review found that over 90% of participants in 14 studies were positively impacted by iPad communication interventions. The other participants were reported to be unaffected by the interventions, or the studies were inconclusive due to the fidelity or social validity of the studies. At the end of a study, student and teacher participants were surveyed for their preferences between the GoTalk application and a Dynavox. Each participant showed preference to the application because it was more portable and easy for the students to learn to use. Students in the study had a rapid acquisition rate and were able to use the GoTalk Now application independently in 2 weeks. The GoTalk Now app is a customizable AAC app for those who may have limited or no speech. It integrates the simplicity of the GoTalk Now devices previously created and the dynamic abilities of the iPad. The GoTalk Now app allows the users to take their own photos, record their own sounds, as well as use pre-recorded and pre-selected photos for them to choose from. They can select the icons to communicate visually and auditorially what they need or want. The GoTalk Now does require the use of an iPad or Apple device. It is available on the App Store, the Apple App Store. It also has its own price associated with it of $80 for a single GoTalk Now. There are package purchase options So if a school or organization was looking to purchase multiple Go Talk Now apps for multiple users, they could do that at a decreased rate. The cost also, you also have to consider the associated cost of the device. Now, many households already have a tablet or an iPad specifically, or other Apple product where this app could be downloaded. Schools often use iPads or similar technology in classrooms, so these tablet iPad devices are more readily available, but if one needs to be purchased, the cost of an iPad can range from $300 to $1,000 based on the model you are looking to purchase. These two costs, the two costs could cause restrictions to the availability of this tool to be used, and it could be a setback or a negative to the use of this app is the cost that is associated with it. Academic needs. The use of communication applications on the iPad improve academic participation and growth. Speech-generating applications and image selection applications offer the student the means to request the things they desire or need. For example, a student can request more time or items that they need for class. They can also use these means to communicate and participate in more class activities. Such apps can be used in independent work situations as well to increase the number of correct answers they can express to questions about a story or reading they've completed. Behavioral needs. A 2008 study states that more than 50% of students with autism spectrum disorder present challenging behaviors as a form of expressive communication. Students with behavioral needs and challenges often have corresponding challenges academically and socially due to the behavior needs impending on their learning. With the use of speech-generated communication applications, the student's ability to communicate improves and the challenging behaviors the students exhibit decreases. A study showed that once students have been taught to use communication apps such as Go Talk Now, they are able to communicate their needs rather than responding to a situation with an undesired behavior. In this study, a student went from grabbing and hitting 8 to 10 times in their baseline assessment to 0 instances of challenging behaviors during their final sessions using the tool. Another student greatly decreased the number of instances of challenging behavior. Both of these changes came quickly after learning how to use the application. Addressing communication needs of our students is a top priority because if a student is unable to functionally communicate, their frustration can take the form of a behavior problem. Studies show that once students have been taught how to use speech-generating applications or communication board applications to make requests, there is a decrease in challenging behaviors. In one study, students using AAC applications showed a 25 to 40% increase in initiating social interactions. One research study compared how long students with communication needs interacted with peers when they had different AAC tools. When using a Dynavox, the students would interact with peers for 1 to 2 minutes during a 30-minute recess. When students were using the Go Talk application on their iPod, they would interact with their peers for an average of 8.5 minutes. This is on par with how long the average peer interacts with peers during a 30-minute recess. It is measured that peers who do not need AAC interact with others on average of 9 minutes. This shows that the use of an AAC app like Go Talk Now on an iPad or tablet can increase the separation and isolation that can be created by communication deficiencies. The results of this research show that tablets with communication apps can effectively be used to meet the needs of students with autism spectrum disorders. Meeting these students' communication needs improves their academic and social skills. Meeting their communication needs also decreases their behavioral challenges that result in a form of expressive communication. Multiple studies have shown that this method of intervention is preferred by students and teachers. The use of a tablet with the GoTalk app is portable and easy for students to learn. Another reason the use of an iPad is preferred is because it is more acceptable and accessible in today's society. It is not unexpected to see someone using a smartphone or tablet to aid them in their daily living activities. This makes it more usable and feasible for teachers, families, and students to implement without social stigma. The use of tablets for communication applications are beneficial, research-based interventions for students with autism to use in the classroom. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and I look forward to receiving your feedback.